Hello Morris class, Miss Baig here and welcome to your first history lesson for this week. Today is the 13th of January 2021. So our learning objective for today is, can I order Neil Armstrong's life in chronological order on a timeline? Our split screen objective is, can I display awareness of chronological order? So grab something to write on and write with and let's begin. Okay, so today we will be exploring the life of Neil Armstrong. So in our previous history video, we looked at the lunar landing, the Apollo 11 mission. Now, can you remember why Neil Armstrong is such an important astronaut? Talk to your teddy. Fantastic, lovely. He was the first man on the moon. Now, what I would like you to do is you do not need to write these answers down anywhere. You just need to verbalize them. So that means you just need to say them out loud. You can talk to your teddy if you have something in the room or your special toy. What is a timeline? Have a think. Second one, how can a timeline help us? Okay, and what special order is a timeline in? Have a good think. Think back to in our previous term where we looked at Roald Dahl and we did a timeline of his life and we created a mini biography. What special order was that in? Let's find out on the next page. It was chronological order. Chronological order, which means it's the oldest to newest key event. So the oldest means the furthest back in time, okay, to the newest events that is within the current time in 2020 or 2021. Okie dokie. But first, let's go through a few pages and learn about Neil Armstrong's life. So sit tight, get ready, let's do this. Okay, who is Neil Armstrong? Neil Alden Armstrong was born on August 5th, 1930 in Ohio, which is a state in the USA, in America. He was the first person to set foot on the moon, or even until right now, whenever I say that sentence, I'm just in awe every single time. So here was Neil Armstrong when he was a little tot. Neil's passion for flying started at the age of 6 when he took his first plane flight. He became a licensed pilot on his 16th birthday in 1947. So licensed pilot means he went to do some special training, and like, for example, when you learn how to drive, you have to take a test, and then once you pass your test, then you get a driving license. So similar to a license to fly planes. Okay, so when you fly a plane, you have to go through a test, pass the test, and then you're given a license. That means you're allowed to fly a plane, you're safe, and you've had the training. So he was only 16, so on his 16th birthday in 1947. His studies in aeronautical engineering at Purdue University were interrupted in 1950 when he had to join the Air Force to fight in the Korean War. So in 1950, a war broke out where Neil Armstrong had to join the Royal Air Force to fight in the Korean War. So during the war, his plane was shot down and he was awarded 3 air medals. So he displayed fantastic service to his country. In 1955, so this is 5 years later after he had taken part in the Korean War, Armstrong completed his aeronautical engineering degree and immediately became a civilian research pilot for NASA. So in 1955, he completed his degree, or his education. In 1962, Armstrong joined the space program. Okay, on March 16th, 1966, Armstrong was sent as command pilot. So that is someone who is actually in charge of the spacecraft, or who is piloting the spacecraft. As command pilot of Gemini 8. So Gemini 8 is the name of the spacecraft that he was in charge of, into space. This was a near-death experience. Armstrong was able to take control of the Gemini 8 and performed a crash landing into the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so while he was sent on this space mission in 1966, so he is the first man to step foot on the moon, but also he had space missions prior to that. And he was in control of, he was sent into space on this, just like Yuri Gagarin was sent on Vostok 1, Valentina Tereshkova was sent on Vostok 6. So just like that, just like the names of those spacecraft, this spacecraft was Gemini 8. Neil was actually piloting it, so he was flying it into the air, into space, I should say. This was a near-death experience because of whatever reason happened. There was some sort of dysfunction or something that didn't go off very well, and he lost control. He lost control of the spacecraft, but he quickly regained control and performed a crash landing into the Pacific Ocean. Now, in order to gain control of a spacecraft, all of the experience that he had during the Korean War as a pilot came in handy. So he was able to quickly regain control because he had been through that experience. He had already gone through the war as a pilot, as a fighter jet pilot. So he was able to use that experience while on a space mission and was able to take control, because if he did not, then he would have passed away sadly at that very moment. So that was very, very lucky. Okay, on December 23rd, 1968, Neil Armstrong was offered the chance to command, which again means to fly, okay, the space mission Apollo 11, okay? This would be the first manned landing on the moon. Okay. Now, sorry if the sentences are quite long and it's hard to understand, so I'll break it down for you a little bit, just so you're not just listening to random bits of information. So on December 23rd, 1968, Neil Armstrong was offered the chance to command the space mission Apollo 11. So the space mission was called Apollo 11. That was the mission where the first humans were sent to the moon. Now, Neil was in charge of that mission, so he was like the manager, the boss, or like Mrs. Bowen, the head teacher of the school. But he was the head teacher of the spacecraft, of the mission Apollo 11. So everybody had to listen to him and do what he said. So he was in charge, he was the boss. And this would be the first manned lander, so the first human interaction on the moon. So after 6 months of practice and preparation, the Apollo 11 spacecraft launched on July 16th, 1969. So he had 6 months of continuous preparation and practicing every single day. And as you can see, look at all those buttons. Now, every single button here, or every single switch has a function. So a function means that something that it will do something. For example, I've got my light switch here. If I turn it off, the room might go dark. So there you go, the room's gone dark. It's done something. This switch has a function. Now I'm going to switch the light back on so you can see me a bit more clearly. So every switch has a function. It does something. Imagine if you accidentally touch one button, the whole spacecraft might explode. You don't know. So you need to have a lot of preparation and a lot of training, because you're putting your own life sort of in the hands of all these buttons. So you need to make sure that you know what every single one does. And you cannot forget. So in case there's maybe about 50 buttons that I can see so far. Imagine if you forget what one does. Oh my goodness. Okay. So they need to have a lot of intense training. That's why every astronaut that we learn about, it always mentions the training and the preparation that they did before going onto this space mission, because it is quite high risk, so everyone needs to be prepared. So Neil became the first man to walk on the moon on July 20th, 1969. He arrived back down to Earth on July 24th, 1969. So he was on the moon for roughly about 3.5 days is the realistic timeline. So about 3.5 to 4 days, and then during that time. So he actually he launched up on the 16th. So it took about three days to travel to the moon. And then he spent a bit of time. Actually, no, that timeline doesn't sound right. Hang on a minute. Let me retrack myself, just so I give you the right information. So the Apollo 11 spacecraft launched into space on the 16th of July, 1969. It took 3 days to travel to the moon. So he arrived on the 19th. On the 20th, where they didn't actually immediately come out and set foot on the moon, they were doing some preparation first. And then finally, on the 20th, after one day of sort of performing some tests and looking outside to see if it's safe, because remember, he was the first person, the first human to ever set foot on the moon, so he didn't want to just blast open the spacecraft door and say, I'm here, moon, take me in your stride. They had to be cautious first. And then after they had done some tests and performed some sweeps and collected the moon rock, moon dust, then it took them 3 days on the 21st. From the 21st of July to the 24th, it took them 3 days to come back down to Earth. So it was a very long mission. It lasted about 7 days in total. Okay, after stepping onto the moon, Neil Armstrong was heard saying, well done, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And there is a picture of his footprint. Okay, Neil Armstrong died on August 25th, 2012. Now, your turn. I'm not going to go into details about his death. You might want to research that yourself. Now, your turn. Create a timeline of Neil Armstrong's life in chronological order. Well done. Hopefully that stuck in your brain. So remember that. So the key events. I'm not going to start with, for example, let's go on to the next page. So we've got our key dates, challenge 1, challenge 2. So let's just say, I'm not going to start off with, right, number 1, key event. I'm going to put in my timeline, died August 25th, 2012. Right, next date on the timeline, I'm going to put, let's see, let me choose a good one. Oh yeah, 1969, walked on the moon. Sounds good. Right, next I'm going to put, born in 1930. Wait, hang on a minute, this is a timeline. That doesn't make sense. How can you die and then walk on the moon and then be born? That doesn't make sense. Okay, so what do you think will be the first key date on our timeline? Well done. He was born in 1930. And let's just check. Absolutely right. It even has a key date at the top to help you if you're doing challenge number 1. Born in 1930. What could be next? What could be next? Let's look at the dates. We need to look at the dates. Remember, we're going in chronological order. So the oldest event to the newest event. Next, it's in 1950 when he was a young man. He served in the Korean War. So when he was 20, he served in the Korean War. So that would be our next event that you would put over here. In 1950, served in the Korean War. Next event, what would the next key event of Neil Armstrong's life be? Well done. In 1962, he joined the space program, the NASA space program. So in 1962, we might draw a picture of NASA's logo. Next key event, so I've crossed that one out. Let me get my pen out. So I've done this one, done that one, done this one. I've got 2 left. Now, will it be he died or will it be he walked on the moon? Fantastic. He walked on the moon in 1969. So the next key event is in 1969, he walked on the moon. Now, as you can see, we've got a first, second, third, fourth. It helps you a little bit just so you don't get confused. And lastly, the very last one, and it was very tragic, died on August 25th in 2012. So it's been 9 years since he has passed away. Well, almost 9 years, because we're not quite in August yet. So 8.5 years. Okay. Now, what we are going to do, Morris class, if you are in challenge 1, if you would like to do challenge 1, then you will complete challenge 1. You have 5 key events, which are on this next page over here. Let me rub these out for you so you can see. Now, when you complete your timeline, you need to draw your boxes, write the dates, but you can draw the key event. So you can draw a picture of a baby, you can draw a picture of a fighter pilot, a fighter jet, you can draw a picture of NASA's logo, you can draw a picture of, what was the 1969 one I've already forgotten? Oh, walked on the moon, how can I forget that? You can draw a picture of him walking on the moon, and then you can draw a tombstone. Okay, so you don't have to write the whole sentence, you can draw it if you like, okay? Now, challenge 2 and challenge 3, children. This is challenge 2 and challenge 3. So you have 8 key events. Let me move myself up here so you can see. And then that way, oh, you can only see half of my face. That's a bit, there we go. You can see my whole face now. You've got 8 key events that you need to complete. So we've got all of the dates on the screen in front of you. And then we have all of the key dates over here. Okay? So your special job, Morris class, is if you are completing challenge 1, then you will draw all of the key events. If you are completing challenge 2 and challenge 3, children as well, then you will write this full sentence. Okay, make sure you write the date as well. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to leave it here so you can pause the video and maybe take a picture or print it out, wherever you choose that you feel that would help you to complete your work. Let me move myself up. There we go, I'm over here. So thank you very much for watching this video, Morris class. I really do hope you have enjoyed learning about Neil Armstrong's life. He is such an important astronaut to the whole of mankind. And I will see you in our next history video. Please do make sure you upload your timeline onto Tapestry. I know there was a bit of problem with Tapestry a couple of days ago, but it's taking on posts very, very slowly. So if you manage to log on and you upload, then it just might take a bit of time to process the image, but it will eventually come up. So please don't feel discouraged not to upload, because they do come up. It's just there's a bit of a lag, there's a bit of a delay until we can see the posts. So please do keep uploading. I really enjoy looking at everybody's work, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, Morris. Take care.